welcome to Aeropay's 2026 Payments Trends and Predictions panel. I'm Nick, a product marketing manager here at Aeropay. Today, I'm joined by a panel of Aeropay's leading experts to talk about the biggest predictions that are shaping payments next year. We'll discuss key trends to help you prepare for a year filled with powerful innovation across the US payments ecosystem. All right, let's dive into it. First, let's meet today's speakers.
Awesome. I'm Josh Chapman. I'm the COO here at Aeropay. I've been here just under 3 years. For the last 15 years, I've worked in a couple of different tech startups here in the Chicago area, but started my career in banking actually at Capital One. So always been in and around the payment space.
Yeah, my name's Josh Lockhart. I'm the CTO at Aeropay. Been in the payments industry, fintech industry for the last 15 years. Most recently at GoFundMe and at Braintree before that. So I've been delving into the world of pay by bank and very excited to help trailblaze the space.
Yeah, Sarah Stapp, Chief Commercial Officer at Aeropay. Also about 16 years of payments experience. A big chunk of that was at Braintree in a global role. So I love talking about payments. I'm a big payments nerd, understanding how payments works in different areas of the world and how we are moving money as a society. It's just a really fascinating subject for me. I also feel very strongly that pay by bank is the new next thing for the US market, which is why I joined Aeropay. It also didn't hurt that I was only dealing with 4 time zones as opposed to all the time zones. So that was a cherry on top. But that's me.
Primarily lead go-to-market strategy, partnerships, and revenue teams. Most recently focused on pay by bank here at Aeropay, with our goal being making pay by bank the most efficient rail possible for our clients. Work closely with merchants and platforms, and the goal is to help them optimize their payments for conversion risk and cash flow.
Yeah, very much so on the same lines. I think maybe zooming out, there have been a number of studies done that Gen Z and kind of the later generations are actually moving away from things like credit cards as a payment mechanism. You know, there's the boogeyman of carrying a balance and maybe potentially getting out ahead of your skis and what you can afford. And they've kind of retreated to, transparency. Do I actually have enough money in my account to afford this thing? And for every reason that Chapman said, I really think that merchants are going to start to look towards other mechanisms and other payment methods uh, that'll, allow, the later generations uh, to take advantage of the space. So I really think pay by bank is going to be a really big piece. Obviously, buy now, pay later as a maybe a little bit short form mechanism of paying, but I think we're really very primed in the pay by bank space to help enable that for a lot of our merchants.
Sure. So to me, a huge trend for merchants, and obviously I'm a little biased, is going to be, how pay by bank is transforming, and it's happening before our eyes. In the not too distant past, there were really like 3 ways that you would think about pay by bank. It was wires, ACH, and RTP, real time payouts. The landscape now has completely changed. We have new rails that have come on like FedNow, and we have instant payments into merchants via the RTP rail. We also have new technologies that are allowing merchants to offer both guaranteed and non-guaranteed ACH depending on who the user is and how much they can trust that user's payment to be good. So all of these changes is really adding up to a pay-by-bank ecosystem where sophisticated merchants will be strategic when they're thinking about how they offer pay by bank, and they're going to be optimizing for the fastest payments both in and out for their users, as well as the lowest cost and the lowest risk. So I really think this transformation in pay by bank is a key trend for merchants, and the really sophisticated ones will win by optimizing.
Does that mean payments is going to be sexy soon? Is that your prediction? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I would agree with you. I think the really the merchants that see themselves as payments companies they acknowledged that a while ago, that this is a conversion tool, and the payment methods that that you show or not show matter to conversion. I think also adding to that, another trend that started this year, but I think it will continue into next year, is a focus on cost. There's a looking at cards, looking at buy now pay laters, looking at pay by bank, looking at wallets. How are people paying, and how I think savvy merchants are looking at this to say, how can I affect both the highest authorization rate while also balancing out cost for the optimal outcomes from the trying to balance that user experience with economics, and finding that right balance, I think, will be an area that merchants will be focusing on next year, either via optimization or being very smart about the order of payment methods that you have, incentivizing those methods against others, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure. I think this comes down to you have two camps of merchants. I think you have more mature merchants that are accustomed to having payment stacks in their ecosystem, and then sort of the new entrant. I think what the common thing amongst them is that payment methods are becoming less of a back office focused function and more being viewed more as a lever to help with conversion. So I think in either of those camps, whether you're a new merchant, setting up an application or a business for the first time, or you're a more mature one, I think viewing payments more as a lever for conversion, risk management is really where the trend is moving towards, less just a cost and a check mark per se. We'll talk about like what's the right tool for the job probably later on, but I would say the biggest trend is viewing payments as a lever for conversion and less as just a mechanism of checking a box to do something, right?
Yeah, I think the other kind of trend happening in the space is obviously the rise of AI, and I think agentic commerce has been kind of a word that has been said out loud a lot, but I think where it's finally got legs in this in the point to you can go and say, hey, I'm looking to go buy, a new computer, and instead of you doing all the legwork to go figure out what that is, you can give parameters and have an agent go and buy those things for you. A lot of our a lot of mind shift is happening in the space with how we engage with online. It used to be you do a lot of searching, you do a lot of clicking, so on and so forth, and now you actually ask AI to go get the answers for you. I anticipate really that commerce portion of it, changing in the very near future, where you're actively telling, you know, a site or an agent or something like that to go purchase something on your behalf, and that's gonna, I think, create a massive shift in consumerism in 2026 and beyond.
Cool. Yeah, I think the biggest trend, in my opinion, in payments right now is crypto slash stable coins. Right? There's definitely momentum that started this year, and it really started with the new administration, who had a different view on the industry, as well as just the general public getting more comfortable, or getting comfortable again, with crypto and stable coins. So I think that's a trend that's going to continue in the next year, as it feels like right now there's this rush to move into stable coins. And what's going to be interesting is to see which companies successfully execute on their stablecoin strategy, where it's well thought out and they plan and they research, versus those that just rush to get into it because it's there, and then ultimately fail to get traction. I think whenever we see a new opportunity like this come along, that's generally what happens. So what's going to be really interesting is to see how this unfolds next year. We know it's going to continue. It's just who does it well and who does not.
Yeah, it's a really good point, and I think, you know, Nathan and I both went to several payments conferences this year, and the focus was not only AI in general in payments, but agentic AI in particular. So there's a lot of conversation happening, and I think, that your point of, it's not going away. I think I equate it to like us using AI as consumers. Like, yeah, you can use ChatGPT or Claude or whatever, but you can use it, and you can use it well. And I think there's a couple of different ways, to your point, internally with guard, risk decisioning and fraud prevention, things of that nature. there's the internal infrastructure piece on how do we use AI to affect better outcomes. And then there's the agentic, external facing. How do we become good stewards within this new ecosystem? And it's going so rapidly. How do we protect consumers? How do we ensure that we are really using it to the best intentions while still taking everybody's in the payments ecosystem, taking all of those considerations into the actual transaction flow. It's really fascinating. It's a little scary, but I'm really excited about where there's already like groups and forums and people that are coming together to try and create a framework. And that's what I anticipate is there's going to be a lot of traction in that regard of how can we create the framework that will allow us to utilize AI smartly, effectively, safely, within a great framework that the industry is going to put together. So that's what I'm anticipating, especially in terms of AI.
Sure. You mentioned AI, so that's obviously the one that everyone is drawn to, the soup du jour of every day, it seems like. But yeah, I think with AI, it won't go away. I just think the people view it instead of a sexy term, there's practicality, right? So what does AI actually mean for payments? It's not the common thing was AI was a replacement vehicle for people. I don't think that's the case. I think if anything, AI is a way to make better decisions at the speed of transaction. And I think if relating that to pay by bank in particular, it's going to help us, further scale pay by bank, right? It helps decide what transactions should go on what rail. It helps manage risk based on outcome, can help with machine learning products. That's where I really think AI is going. So fraud and risk is obviously a pretty big important component of how AI helps us and how it will continue to help us. But the idea is that it's the end result is that your outcome will be faster and more secure. So I think that's the first one. And Sarah, I'd love to get your thoughts on that. And of course, there's other trends too. But
There's lots of opportunities for pay by bank to really kind of drive in industries, right? Like everything has moved online, and that includes things like, I've talked about it, utilities and, rentals and, you know, all things kind of municipality based. We've even started engaging conversations with, credit reporting agencies and, how they utilize the open banking rails and all things around open banking and pay by bank. I think are going to continue to make their assessments of credit worthiness and things like that better. So I'm looking forward to those types of advancements. Um, and again, I think as our demographics, the high power, high paying demographics start to move more and more away from credit cards, I think we'll start to see a lot of shifts really kind of ubiquitously across the payment industry.
I agree with everything that Lockhart said. To me, like the biggest opportunity for pay by bank, is going to continue to be subscriptions or recurring payments. We've seen some industries adopt it already. Like if you go, any wireless company now is offering pay by bank. But there are a lot of other industries that have not yet embraced it where they have a regular subscription or something like a subscription that's a recurring payment. And to me, even those that are off, some do offer it, but it's with an outdated solution that was probably built in the 90s. So I think that's the greatest opportunity. I did some research on this not that long ago, and the average checking account in the United States is 18 years old. For the demographic of 18 to 24-year-olds, the average bank account is 7 years old. So folks get a bank account and stay with it before they're even 18. And those stats are important because your checking account number just doesn't change that often. And if you're like my household, we have to replace a credit card once a year because we misplace it or something else happens. So my point is using pay by bank for subscriptions or recurring payments is more cost effective for the merchant. And it's lower friction for both the merchant and the user because that data is not going to change very often. So to me, that is the greatest opportunity. And I think we're going to see a huge push towards that in 2026.
And I would say, as far as going into next year, we've had really great conversations with our merchants over the last year. They've been getting very creative and thinking about this as a tool in the toolbox, as Nathan was mentioning earlier. I see this as a phenomenal tool for multiple different use cases. But where I see like industry wide or specifically to pay by bank in 2026, instant pay-ins, that's been an area that we're just seeing some things moving forward in that regard with banks participating. We've got 1033, we've got a lot of things that could happen in the next year. Aeropay is ready to handle all of that. We're really excited about this innovation. I think particularly because there are a lot more people coming to the table from the different players in the ecosystem. Instant pay-ins I think is a really great recent use case of that. It's, hey, they're doing it over in Europe. They're doing it in these other areas. Like, why don't we should bring this type of functionality and this experience to our users? The merchants are asking for it. Consumers are getting more and more comfortable with it. And that's an arrow that merchants are looking for in their quiver, and other people in the ecosystem are jumping on board to say, how can we make this better than what it is today? So instant pay-ins for me, I'm really excited specifically about in the pay by bank space of seeing that flourish and grow.
Yeah, I'd focus, I'll take the start on that one. I'd focus less on like a specific vertical and more of the outcome. I think where pay by bank is going to make the biggest impact is really anywhere where certainty matters. More it's and there can still be convenience. A lot of people are like, oh, certainty, does that mean that you're going to like make a put a lot of friction in front of the user? I don't think that's the case, but anywhere where certainty matters, where there's high value, high risk, repetitive transactions too. A lot of people have often not necessarily thought about subscriptions as a vehicle, but I think that that is actually a perfect use case for pay by bank. So I mean, I guess if we're to like dive into it, when people are making large digital purchases, I think wallet funding, another one, platform balances. Of course, I come from the crypto world, so we all like to talk about stable coins, but the reality is you still need really good on and off ramps. And again, I think anywhere where someone really needs that high degree of certainty without sacrificing convenience, I think pay by bank makes a lot of sense.
All right. Thanks so much to today's panel for sharing these insightful predictions for next year. This was a really great conversation that paints a clear picture of what's coming in 2026. And thank you for tuning in. As payments nerds, these sorts of conversations are the best parts of our job. We hope today's conversation was beneficial. If you're interested in learning more about Aeropay and how we're building the modern standard for bank payments, check out our website at aeropay.com. Thanks for watching and Happy New Year.